walking with them, meeting them where they're at with no judgment, with only care and wanting the best for them, not telling them what to do, but figuring out what they want to do for themselves and then helping them get there.
Welcome back to Straight Talk on Life Issues. I'm Victor Nieves, as always, joined by Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute. Brad, today we have an interesting conversation about helping women in their absolute time of need and crisis.
Yeah, pregnant, addicted women is not usually the topic of conversation around the dining room table or after church or in other socially acceptable situations. But many women find themselves in a situation that they never expected to, but now have to deal with it.
That's right. And when women are pregnant and addicted, of course, it presents significant health risks, affecting the health of both the mother and, of course, her baby as well.
And the good news, Victor, there are pregnancy resource centers and maternity homes that can come to the rescue to provide, as you said, surrounding women and supporting them in their time of need.
And today we're going to be talking about that very topic with two wonderful guests, one of which actually went through an addiction program at a pregnancy center herself. First joining us is Kyndra Garrett. She's a 40-year-old mother who's been working with women in crisis for the past 7 years. She's now the addiction and recovery specialist at Guiding Grace Motherhood. We're also joined by Tammi Hess. She spent over 10 years serving women and children through nonprofits in Omaha, Nebraska, before eventually coming to Garden Gate Ranch, where she now serves as program coordinator. Tammi and Kyndra, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Kyndra, let's get a little backstory. Tell us about your situation, where you were, and how you found the center.
Okay, so I was 32 years old, pregnant with my fourth child, homeless, in addiction. I had been dealing with homelessness and addiction and incarcerations for many years. I had 3 older children that I had lost custody of years prior to this, and that kind of spiraled my addiction out of control. And so when I found myself pregnant again, I was just lost. I didn't know what to do. I knew that I wasn't a good mom. That's the only thing I knew. And, I was still doing the same things that led to me losing the first kids. And I just wanted to do something different. And someone had told me about the maternity homes in the area. And I checked some of them out. And I found one that just really was, when I seen it, it was just, you get that feeling of like, I think I should be there. And then just walking through the doors, you feel it, like there's the overwhelming sense of just home, love, welcoming, speaking to everyone and getting to meet everyone. And just, there was no judgment. There was no looking down on me for being pregnant and using. There was no anything. It was just, we're glad you're here. Let us walk with you. Let us figure this out. Let us see what we need to do to get you where you need to be.
When you were pregnant, addicted, and homeless, did abortion ever cross your mind?
Yes. And was suggested to me by, family members and other people who kind of knew my situation. And it was definitely very present, that thought and idea and everything, and really kind of my only option, it felt like.
Yeah, somebody in your situation, I can understand where abortion would be the end all be all for a situation like yours.
Kyndra, how did the maternity home help you? What changed your perspective?
Just going there and just being in an environment where I was loved, where I was at in my life. Like, it wasn't pressuring me to make choices that I wasn't ready to make. They just gave me another option. Like, they showed me that like I could learn the skills that I needed to become a good mother. They gave me that time to be okay being pregnant and actually start to enjoy being pregnant and learning the skills that I needed to get the idea that like I can make a life for myself and my child. And, it really showed me that I could do things other than what I had been doing and that there was other options available for me.
Had you burned bridges with your family?
Yes, yeah. I'd burned every bridge with my older children, with my family. Yeah, it was just me out there trying to figure everything out, and it just wasn't working for me anymore.
So what did the home do for you to get you back on track?
When I came to the house, I was 32 years old and lacking pretty much every basic life skill. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to clean. I didn't never know how to drive. I had no driver's license. I didn't know how to pay bills. I was thousands of dollars behind in child support for my older kids. Never held a job. I had brief jobs, like in work release through temp services and things, but I never held a steady job, didn't know how to be financially responsible or anything like that. So going there and then, with the curriculum that they taught us there, not only did I learn how to start working on myself on the inside, and loving myself and learning about like codependency. But then I did financial literacy and all the financial things and learned how to manage money and build my credit, get out of debt. They had a workforce education program that I was able to join in and start working in the boutique that they ran and got job skills and learned how to be a good employee. And, then when I made the money, I learned how to manage the money and then started paying off debts and, building myself up, and then at home, we were taught how to keep a clean room, how to wash our baby bottles, like take care of the things that the babies needed that a lot of people think is common sense, but for a lot of people, it's not. It should be, but it's not, if you're not really taught those skills. And then having a job and daycares and things like that, obviously you need to be able to get there. And so Tammi actually was the one who trusted me with her vehicle and took me out. She taught me how to drive. And I was able to get my first license in my first car. And then I was able to, start providing for my family and my daughter. And ever since then, and then meeting people like Tammi, and she's always been my hero. She's been there a huge part of my journey. And I've always inspired to be like her. And I used to tell her, I'm like, I'm coming right behind you. And I did. Everything that she's doing, I've just kind of followed her and just get that passion to give back what you've been given. And that's where it's at. Like, you can't even describe it, that something terrible that happened to me that I was able to overcome, that I can pass along to somebody else and see it work in their life, that they can now be like me, or, like that we all lean on each other, and just, it's possible when you have the right people around you.
Well, you're a far cry from where you started in addiction, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
What was your family life like before your addiction?
There's a lot of generational addiction and abuse and poverty, and dating back all the way to like my great grandparents were alcoholics and abusive with my grandpa. Just it all trickled down throughout the years. And both my parents were addicts and in and out of incarcerations, and just, that poverty mindset that you kind of get stuck in and you think that it's normal.
But you've broken that generational cycle, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
And
So tell us now what you do for women in similar situations to what yours was years ago.
So I specifically work with women in residential programs, much like the maternity houses. I'm currently working with women in trafficking situations. And so it is a lot different than what I'm used to, but, women need help. And that's where I feel like I can really be the most part of. And it's just walking with them, meeting them where they're at with no judgment, with only care and wanting the best for them, not telling them what to do, but figuring out what they want to do for themselves and then helping them get there.
I would think you can relate to the women you're helping based upon your journey and path you've taken.
Absolutely.
Tammi, briefly tell us what you do.
I work at a trafficking, sex exploitation program for women and children. So women that have their children, not children. And so I do the same thing. I work directly with the women as well as fit their program. So I myself am a survivor of that and drug abuse as well. Have been incarcerated myself and have been in different variety of shoes.
Well, Tammi, tell us a little bit more about Guiding Grace Motherhood.
It's an outreach program for women, single parents, not just women though. If there's, a man that is needing help as well, just a place to fellowship for one, another place to be able to get the resources that you might not know that is out there, teaching them where to go to get some resources, and right there having those resources for clothes, for diapers, for formula, for all the stuff that you would need for a parent.
Tammi, do you have some success stories of women who you crossed paths with that were addicted yet chose life for their babies?
Yes, right there is one, and just it's funny that today is the day, because I did have to just go and sit in Planned Parenthood on Monday with the gal, because her decision was that because of some situation. And I just sat there and I prayed and I read the Bible throughout the whole session that she was in there, and she came out and changed her mind. And so the grace of that and being able to see that, and then, just I'm just on just the beginning of that journey anyway, but just being able to be part of that is just a blessing in my eyes, and just God, knowing that God is here with us, her and I, and for to help direct me in the ways of how I can help her. And like Kyndra said, be the best parent and be the parent that God intended us to be.
While not just anyone would accompany her into the devil's den of Planned Parenthood, but it says a lot about you also.
Amen. It was hard. I prayed so much about it on the weekend, and it just, and I didn't want to do it. I did not want to do it.
Any other success stories that you want to tell us about, Tammi?
Well, there's another success story that works at Guiding Grace, and wow, I just had been working with that woman for many years, and she did come in very abortion minded, and because in a very situation where it just was dysfunctional, and she was there just for a little bit of time, and then left and had the baby, and then came back like 2 years later and was pregnant again without the baby, had left the baby somewhere, with the dad, and back on that second baby. And today she's working at Guiding Grace, like, and years later, so 4 years later, and she's about to get married to the father of this last baby that she had. And I've been pushing that. I've been like, you need to get married. You're, pretty much living in sin. And so just that beauty, like I just got a text message the other day from her saying that, the date. And I was just, it's just a praise God, to that glory. Like I said, she works at Guiding Grace too. So it's awesome to be able to help others, like Kyndra was saying, where, it's easy for people to come in and, but if they hadn't been in their shoes, we kind of look at them and go, well, you don't know what it's like to be here, And so it's important to have people that are survivors in, addiction and everything.
Certainly is. Kyndra, do you have any success stories you'd like to share?
I have multiple. I mean, there's so many of us are kind of all on the same path. And I think that the most that I've seen is like the women being reunified with their older kids, maybe not in a complete sense that they get custody back, but they do get to re-enter their kids' lives and be a part of them, where they're at now. And that's all because they came to a maternity home. They got their lives together. They're successfully parenting their newborns. And, with that growing to become a person that the adopted parents trust and allow to be part of their older kids' lives now. And I've seen that multiple times with several women that have gone through the system and lost older kids. And it's a miracle because a lot of people don't get that chance. And going through the home and learning the skills that they've learned to be successful, to maintain homes and be successful parents, it really has changed a lot of people's lives in that way.
How about you, Kyndra? Do you have a relationship now with your older children?
I do. My oldest is 25 and has two of my only two grandbabies, and she's my neighbor. So I get lots of grandma duties. Yep. And then my middle two children are Job Corps. I had my first three kids by the time I was 19. So they're all adults now. So I'm pretty busy with kids, but they are all in my life. And I get two bonus grandbabies now. So
yeah,
they're the light of my life.
You have the living arrangement most of us grandparents would die for. So
yes, I'm very blessed.
How about your family, your immediate family? Is there any relationship with them now?
I've rebuilt lots of relationships. I had to put up some pretty strong boundaries because some of them are still, not the healthiest, and protecting what I've built in myself and my family is, of course, my number one. But I have, like my grandma, before she passed away, I was able to show her a different side of me and know that when she passed, she was proud of the person I became. And so that was an amends that I was very grateful that I got to make.
I'm sure it would be harder to mend those relationships under those circumstances that they are. Tammi, how about you in your family relationships? Did you have some that were bridges burned and then rebuilt later?
Yes, all my relationships with my family. I was the addict that knew she was not doing the right thing. So I would just stay away from my family because I knew what they would say, or I just had that guilt and shame that was towering over me. And being able to learn how to forgive myself has been the most important thing, is to ask for the forgiveness. And so, yeah, I'm back in my hometown, and actually my son is actually buying a duplex, and I might live on the other side of it and help him buy it, that kind of thing. So,
Wow.
and that's huge. Yeah. And he's older as well. And me and my sister have a relationship like we had when we was kids, and we were very tight. And I have a pretty small family. My dad has passed away. My dad had raised us. I have some aunts and uncles that I talk with, and very good mentors for me spiritually.
Well,
Yes.
Tammi, we love to hear these stories. What would you say has been the program's success rate?
85%, and that's coming in and like staying off drugs and alcohol, and maybe have a slip every now and then, but still getting back up there because they have that support, like Kyndra was saying, the fellowship, that they don't feel guilty or ashamed to say, I used last night, and people just come, like she was saying, and we just come around them with loving arms and just hold on to them tight and say, come on, you fell, let's get back up, here's my hand, and we just pull them up. It's
Yeah.
huge.
85% is pretty incredible.
It is, but it's that loving support that we give to them as a home, as they're coming in. This is their home. A lot of people have give up their homes, give up the opportunity, and a lot, like Kinder was just saying, didn't really have that as a child. Even, they lived in poverty, and from aunt's house to aunt's house or uncle's house to, and some people that I've worked with as well have literally were homeless, living in homeless shelters as a child.
Well, I'm sure it's not a big news to you, but all of us sinners relapse. We're relapse sinners from time to
We do.
time.
Yes.
And we have to get back up on that horse. That's why we need a savior to ask for
Amen.
and receive that forgiveness and move on. So here's a
Yes.
question I'd like to ask both of you. What would you say to the woman who was considering having an abortion? Like you, she's the poster child of Planned Parenthood with everything against her, that by worldly standards, she should abort that baby. Kyndra, let's start with you.
First, I would just tell her to pray or pray with her, because God will guide you where you need to be. And even if she chooses not to parent, there's other options out there. And, going through maternity homes, they will help either her become confident and maybe she'll change her mind to parent, or find a family that would love that baby, which I've seen happen before, that they chose life but chose not to parent, is always an option as well. And I think that praying and finding that balance right there is like usually the huge missing part that a lot of women are missing.
Tammi?
And I also, just to add to that, is sometimes just it being quiet and us praying as well. I know that's what I used, and also being able to introduce adoption, because some people don't even know that, like they don't even think of that, because the abortion is a quick fix kind of thing.
Mhm.
And adoption is harder to do, but I know, like Kendra was saying, I know women that have, and they've had other kids after that, since that, and they can look back and say, I did the best thing I could do for my child,
Mhm.
and it's very selfless act.
And those who have chosen abortion and adoption will probably tell you 100% of the time that the adoption decision is the easier one to live with in the long term, isn't it?
Correct.
And even under such dire circumstances as you two found yourselves in, it's
Mhm.
hard to pull yourself out of that even without a baby. So I greatly admire you both and all of those women who have followed your footpath. And thank you for being there to help them. Thank you for joining us on the program. You've been a blessing to others.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Brad, to hear their stories has been a blessing, and to see that there are people out there with the heart of gold that these two women have, where they are reaching out and helping these women in their time of need. For one, it's just such a testament to who they are, but it's also a testament to everyone else who can see their stories, to know that there is hope. There are people trying to help, and women who may be in that moment of need can reach out and get that helping hand.
Victor, truth be told, I think there's a little piece in all of us that when we think of a drug addicted person, that we might think that they are less than. And these women, Kyndra and Tammi, definitely showed us that they are not less than. They have troubles and trials which they're going to slug their way through, but they don't need us looking down on them. We need to be supporting them with prayers and resources to those who are taking care of them.
Well, and they've shown what's possible. They've shown that restorative ability. Obviously, God has worked in their lives, and now they're using their story. You love to see this kind of thing to help other women who are now in that same situation. And their testimony gives them the tools to help other women in a way that people without that story, without the same shared background, probably couldn't reach these women like they can.
Yeah. And of course, I'll never be pregnant, but while listening to their stories, I found myself wondering if I were addicted like that, would I be able to dig my way out of that pit? And that's worth thinking about for all of us.
That's right. And while we think about that, I want to encourage you, our listener, to visit our website, lifeissues.org. There you'll find free information and resources that you can share with your friends, your family members, your church community. You never know who might be in need of those resources and whose life you can change. Again, you can find those for free at lifeissues.org. While you're there, I want to encourage you to join the Life Defenders today. You can be a daily part of our work together to save babies and promote a culture of life across this country. Giving monthly, no matter how much, is a tremendous commitment to the pro-life movement. And though we might not all work at maternity homes, we can support vital pro-life education through a monthly donation. Monthly giving helps us reach a persuadable audience with a pro-life message, and of course, it enables the very creation of this program. So help us do more for the babies by becoming a Life Defender today. Again, you can easily sign up while you're on our website, lifeissues.org, and be sure to tune in next week for another Straight Talk on Life Issues.